Welcome to Prophetic Connection Podcast. Today I have a guest of honor, Reverend Dr. John Tweedy. Doctor, welcome to the studio.
Good to be here.
Thank you. October 7. What happened October 7, 2003? And I know you were in Israel that day. What happened?
Well, it's considered the darkest day in Jewish history since the Second World War. And the systematic killing of 6 million Jewish men, women, and children. And I always want to emphasize 1.5 million children. I wrote an article recently that I called Black Saturday 1 year on, because it is 1 year since that very dark day. I had already been in Israel for about 9 days with our C4I camera crew, and we were filming a new season. And in fact, on Friday, the day before, we were in the Valley of Elah, and that's where the contest occurred between David, the shepherd boy from Bethlehem, and Goliath, the giant from Gath in Gaza. So we were there on Friday, but on Saturday, we spent our last night, Friday night, in Jerusalem. And we're up early on Saturday morning, ready to go to the airport for a noon hour departure back to North America. But as we were leaving Jerusalem, my cameraman turned to me and he said, "Are you aware, John, that rockets are coming over from Gaza?" I said, "Yes, I am." And that happens almost every day, but it's unusual that it's happening in daylight hours. Anyway, we knew that something was going on, but we weren't that surprised by rockets. But then we got to the airport, and we always have a rented vehicle, and they just seemed to rush us through in ways that they hadn't done before. In fact, they just said, "Give us the keys and hurry into the terminal." So we didn't realize what was really going on. We get into the terminal, and we're going through the security systems, and we come up, and it's just about our turn to be interviewed by the security people, and all of a sudden there's an alert. The airport is under attack, because Ben Gurion Airport is in the same line as from Gaza to Tel Aviv. So rockets would be passing over the airport, if not being aimed at the airport. So we were rushed to the bomb shelters, and you can imagine a departure hall with, thousands of people. So we didn't get to a bomb shelter, but we got into a protected corridor where if a rocket landed, we would have some protection at least. And then I got a call from an Israeli friend to say, "Where are you, John?" I said, "I'm in the airport." He said, "Well, that's good, because there are really bad things taking place at the border." Now, he probably knew that terrorists had come across by this point and people were being killed. But I don't think anyone realized until much later on that day how bad things really were.
Yeah.
And I think of it now, we're sitting in the airport, we've gone through the procedures, we're just having a coffee, waiting to board the plane. And while we're doing that, there are people dying. I've read since then of children being tortured in front of their parents, parents being tortured in front of their children, and other things that I won't even dare to mention because they are so horrific and despicable. And in fact, the Israeli forces found on the dead terrorists, in their pockets, they found pills that put them out of their minds so they could do these things that were just the worst things imaginable to the people. And of course, the news outlets have been repeating it over and over again. So people know actually what happened. But you can't believe this is happening in the 21st century. Anyway, we had a late departure. We sat in the plane for about 2 hours, and then finally we taxied out. And I understand now they were waiting for a safe time for us to taxi and take off. But it wasn't until we were somewhere over Europe, about 4 hours into the flight, that my cameraman turned to me again and he said, "I'm receiving text messages from Canada. Israel has declared war on Hamas, and a massacre has taken place at the border." And I remember my feelings at the moment, a sense of relief that we were somewhere over Europe, on our way home, safe in a sense, but then my heart for the people that I know that I left behind. And in the border communities where I've sat in their homes and had meals, and they're not just names to me, they're people that I know. And then I realized what this really means, and I realized it meant a war. Israel
Yeah.
is at war.
Yeah.
Now we're 1 year later. The amazing thing to me is to see protests in support of Hamas or Hezbollah in Lebanon on university campuses in the major cities of North America in support of a terrorist organization
Yeah.
that conducted a massacre
Yeah.
and bent on the destruction of Israel.
Yes.
I mean, that's in the Hamas charter and Hezbollah as well. Their goal is the destruction of Israel and
Yeah.
the elimination of all Jews. And we have people in the West, including leaders, because I just read that the Prime Minister of France, Macron, has called for an embargo of arms, so Israel should not be supplied with arms. Curiously, the very next day I read that a Middle Eastern Arab nation gave France $10 billion. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Well, I would, if I could speak to him face to face, I would say, your position will bring terrible consequences
Yes.
to you
Yeah.
and the people of France,
Yeah.
because you've chosen a position on the wrong side of the equation.
Yeah.
Genesis 12, verse 3, God said to Abraham, I will bless those who bless you, meaning
Yes.
Israel, your descendants, but I will curse him who curses you. And just take a look at history.
Yeah.
Hitler's the only person you actually have to look at who was determined to destroy the Jews
Yeah.
and almost succeeded. But where's Hitler today?
Yeah.
And every nation that
Yeah.
goes against Israel, God says will pay the price.
Yes.
So while it's sad that it's October 7th, 1 year
Yes.
later, the West needs to wake up.
Yeah.
I understand.
We know from the media and we know for what's happening in these days, the conflict between the Iran and Israel. And a couple days ago, Iran attacked massively. But we know the Lord protected Israel. And that was huge attack, but the Lord protected as always. What's going on in these days in Israel?
Well, Israel has vowed to retaliate. Remember, this was something like 200 ballistic missiles.
Yes.
I mean, sophisticated weaponry. But Israel has 3 levels of defense. They
Yes.
have the Iron Dome. They have what they call David's Sling. And the highest level is the Arrow missile system. So anti-missile systems, in other words. So they successfully shot down most of the missiles, although 1 or 2 got through. And amazingly, this was an unprecedented attack in modern history. 200 missiles fired at one tiny little country, and no Israelis were killed. A Palestinian was killed when apparently a rocket fell on him, but no Israelis were killed in this blistering attack. Well, Israel has vowed retaliation, and I mean, I can't say when it will happen. I believe it will happen. Today is the commemoration of October 7th. So I think probably Israel will let this day pass, and they will honor those that were killed and those that, in fact, those that are still missing.
Yes.
But after this day passes, then I think we will see Israel's response. But here is Israel's dilemma.
Yeah.
How do they respond to this Iranian missile attack while protecting the innocent people of Iran? If they attack the nuclear facilities, the chances are that nuclear waste or whatever could be released, and many Iranians could be killed. I know Israel doesn't want to do that. They could attack their ports, the oil refineries, and that there would be less chance that the general population would be injured because those would be targeted attacks. But in reality, and I've said this over and over when I've had the opportunity, 200 missiles, ballistic missiles, were fired at Israel.
Yes.
Israel defense systems could not stop all of the missiles, this time nor in the future. And Iran, we're told, is very close to having a nuclear weapon.
Yes.
Well, what if it managed to put a nuclear weapon on a ballistic missile that somehow penetrated Israel's defense system? Even if it didn't land in Israel, if it landed in the Mediterranean, imagine if it detonated, the nuclear fallout
Yes.
with the prevailing winds off the Mediterranean would blow over Israel.
Yes.
Never mind the people that would be injured or contaminated, think of the soil.
Yes.
It would be the end of Israel. So if you're the leaders of Israel today, you have an incredible dilemma. That's why we encourage people to pray.
Yes.
I mean, what else can we say? We just say, Lord, give the leaders who have the
Yes.
influence or
Yeah.
can give the orders
Yeah.
to their military to have the wisdom to do the wisest of things in
Yes.
response to this. But it's not a matter of will they, they have to respond because their survival is at stake.
Yes.
But I would say this too, and this is the positive thing. Jeremiah 31, the latter verses of the chapter, God says, as long as the sun shines by day and the moon and the stars by night, Israel shall remain.
Amen.
So I have no concerns about Israel's future in that sense. I have concerns about what could happen. I know that the people of Iran are held hostage.
Yes.
In many ways, like the people, the Palestinians in Gaza,
Yes.
they have overlords, Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and not all of them are innocent. Some of them are cheering
Yes.
when Israel gets attacked. But in the general population, there must be people, certainly in Iran,
Yes.
who are fed up with this
Yes.
regime, and so we understand that.
Yes.
So the best thing I think as Christians we can do today is to pray that Israel will have the right measured response, even as it eliminates the threat
Amen.
to its existence.
Well, you answered my third question. As a Christians, what we have to do. So we have to pray, and we believe in heart the Lord is going to protect it, Israel. Thank you so much for being with us with the Prophetic Connection podcast. We're going to hear from Reverend Dr. John Tweedy more in these days. Stay with us.